Hey guys, welcome to SLI, Satellite Leadership Institute, Week 12. For the first 11 weeks, we've been talking about principles, traits, characteristics, habits of good leaders and managers, and we've kind of beaten that horse to death, so to speak, and we really understand what it takes to be a good leader or a good manager. And we really talked about the common mistakes that managers make and the impact that those mistakes have on primarily morale in the organization as well as on performance. Today, we're going to sort of switch gears a little bit, flip a switch, so to speak, and really dive into the meat and potatoes of being a manager. What do you do? What does that look like? How do you conduct yourself? And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about one of the most important critical elements in any organization that wishes to grow and have strong performance. Regardless of whether or not you're a sales organization or a manufacturer or any other type of concern, really the same principles apply. And we're going to get into that today. So let's get started, right? Dedicated professional development. If you'll notice something, I always have a leadership slide here. But today we're talking about what? Performance, right? The agenda today, we're going to discuss our homework really quickly. We're going to talk about a single common mistake that sort of leads us into the meat and potatoes of today's meeting. And we're going to introduce you to coaching and counseling for performance improvement. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you impact on other people's lives and help them improve their performance. I will tell you, after doing this for 30-something years, that the most incredible experience you can ever have is someone that you've been working with get that aha moment and become a top-end sales professional or produce a really big sale or get promoted. Those are great moments in a sales manager's life. That's absolutely fantastic. And that's what we live for, right? Is to see other people be successful. Because in management, how do we become successful? Through other people, right? You got to find your replacement, right? And then we're going to do a review and homework, and off we go. So I asked you to write a paragraph on how this has impacted your professional life, and one paragraph on how this has impacted on your personal life. So let's just jump into that. Anybody do their homework? Awesome. Why don't you start, Jason?
Okay. Just me personally, and a lot of people know me in this room. Characteristics, I was focusing on consistency, reliability, and effective communication. Just focusing on those things surely has changed me. I mean, I wasn't a very reliable person at all. I mean, you can ask Travis and Doug and everybody to show up whenever I want. So actually being reliable, just in professional, I mean, it makes a big difference because people know that they can count on you. They know that you're consistent on a regular basis. And even outside of work, like in my personal life, when I tell somebody I'm going to be there, I'm going to do my darndest best. Sometimes I still don't always be there, but they know that I'm going to do the best I can. If I can't, I'm going to let them know I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be consistent, I'm going to be reliable with that. Effectively communicating as well. You can talk to somebody and if they don't really get what you're saying, if you're not communicating that to them, what's the point in talking to them? You got to make sure somebody's actually listening, because I can talk to it rock all day long, but at the end of the day, it's not going to do what I want it to do unless I tell it to sit and stay. So just those three things are what I've really been focusing on in my life, and I've just found that when I really am reliable and I'm consistent, people respect that. You're going to get the respect that you get. So there you go.
Cool. What do we see in your life, professionally and personally?
I mostly focused on professionally, but I do have personally as well. It really came. I'll guess I'll read it verbatim a little bit easier this way. I have the, as far as the principles that I've learned in SLI class, I'm just gonna read it. Of my approach when it comes to employees and their progress or lack of there when I have to approach it, I used to be rather direct and rather stern in my approach, which generally did not work. What tended to happen was an emotional withdrawal. And then it would take time for me to work with that person and get their trust and respect back. Now, I state what I'm, I'll tell them, hey, this is why I brought you in this room, this is why we're talking, and in a real, I don't want to say monotone, but really tranquil manner. And then I offer them solutions. Hey, so what I believe we should do is we're going to work together, we're going to focus on these, and I highly suggest you kind of surround yourself by these people because they generally these are their strong points. Before, I would kind of I would create a sense of urgency and put it in a rather negative manner. And I always thought that was motivator. Losing your job is not motivating, it's alarming. And that was my approach back, some time back. So I've adjusted that and it's been rather good. I definitely...
People don't react well when you threaten their job.
No.
So that's not what we really want to do. How about you, Doug? What can you contribute, sir?
Just as far as the habits, just getting into a routine. I've since we have promoted some people and I have been relieved of some of the day-to-day duties, working directly with agents. I now have the time to do the things that I'm supposed to be doing, and just getting that routine in place is very helpful.
Have a routine, having a process is really
it's just getting it to where
important.
Yeah, I mean, before it was just like a cluster.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And now there's a little more structure to my day.
Okay. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, a lot like what Doug said. My thing is organization. I set myself on a set schedule every day where I do particular things at a certain time to line my day out perfectly. So that helps me out a lot. My habits is I like to keep all my employees happy and push them, set goals for them. Because at the end of the day, they come back to me and say, well, thank you, Steve, because I really needed that.
Thank you.
So, make sure, just keeping everybody happy and staying focused on the job.
And you always had that positive attitude of your own, which is powerful. How about you, Khalil?
Everybody's pretty much touched on some good points and kind of some things that I've jotted down. But it gives me the desire to improve my character overall, kind of treat others as you would like to be treated, so that's a big thing. It made me look at my values as a person, motivate me to organize, also forced me to pay close attention to my time management, like Jason was saying, organizing your time, making sure you're reliable, that you are setting a good example for your employees, because if you're not on time, how do you expect them to be on time? And as an effective leader, I believe that all of these are very important attributes, and that not only resonates in my professional life, but my everyday life as well.
That's excellent. And what we're going to see as we dig deeper and deeper into the daily life of a manager, because these principles are still there. They're underneath every single thing that you do, and they really inform you in your decision making, in your behavior, and activity, what you say, how you say it. All of it is principle, character based. Because leadership is not something you wear; it's something that comes from within you. Right? Did you get a chance to do your homework?
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to this. I'm new to the homework and everything, but since I've been asked to join the class, I've tried to become more of a leader out on the floor. Like when people come to me with a question, they're looking at me as a manager now, even though I'm not, just because of what I did with DirecTV, I guess. So I'm trying to set time aside and actually take their suggestions, and I'll bring them to Travis, if there's things that need to be changed. And I'll take time out of my day to set them aside and coach them on the questions that they have that maybe they'll ask me, but not a manager. They think the manager doesn't have time, so I'll set them aside. Like a particular agent, I set him aside yesterday and went through the whole DirecTV portal with him. So
Awesome.
So he wouldn't be scared to go forward. He wasn't
Awesome.
sure, at what point to do what. So.
Awesome. And I want to publicly thank you for the extra work you did on DirecTV and the pricing. It helped everybody in the training class. Thank you very much. Callie, what can you contribute, young lady?
Yes, I want to piggyback off Khalil for a minute. I do agree that all of these principles and characteristics, whenever you take the time to break them down and individually, then you can start to build up. And they're like building blocks. It does just make you better and better, one by one, because you start to pay attention to that aspect of your life. But a big one, I guess, that I'll go with is the listening to the input of others, whether they're your supervisor or whether it's just somebody that you pass on the street. You're doing yourself a disservice by not listening. Jerry's for the last 2 weeks talked about and used Bob Allen as an example. You might have to talk to him for an hour, but there's a gem in there somewhere, and by not closing your mouth and opening your ears, you're not taking anything away from the conversation and what could be a pretty valuable piece of information that you just let go by the wayside. So I think that's pretty important to try and open yourself to listening to conversations and absorbing what's actually being said.
Awesome, awesome.
I did not do my homework. I did Wednesday's homework and didn't make it to Wednesday's class. But I'm sorry about that because I wasn't here on Friday. But I did want to say that of the people of this class and a few of the Wednesday's class, you can definitely tell the impact this class has made on everybody, work-wise, and I think it's bringing a lot of us closer. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing outside of work? Not how are you doing inside of work. Let's have a good day. We're concerned about you, and things are getting done. You can go to somebody now, and they're getting done right away instead of 3-4 days later. We're having to follow up. What was this issue? Who coached this agent? Oh, nobody coached her. Nobody coached him, so they've been making sales with this bad material for a week now, and so you can really tell a difference so far of what the class has changed everybody and how it's changed everybody on the floor.
Has been a lot more interdepartment
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah, I
for
noticed
sure.
that too, especially, and I appreciate that they're pulling the calls, because we're generally pretty darn busy over there. But if, now that we have that support, they say, hey, you may want to focus on this guy and on this particular area. It really helps out quite a bit.
Yeah, yesterday when you gave me that one agent's thing, I spent a good hour with him. That was gold that you gave me. I just get to fix that kind of stuff. So thank you.
I've seen a lot of people step up. I will tell you, frankly, that Marco has done a marvelous job stepping up. Doug has done a marvelous job stepping up. Steve, Khalil, everybody in here. And I'm going to tell you that Jason, I think, has made a 180, if not a 360 and a 180. Maybe a whatever.
720? No, wait, 1085.
That's back around again.
Yeah,
I'm just spinning in circles over here.
But he's in the right direction, and I appreciate it a lot. He and I do a lot of work together. We're teaching, we're sharing information on how to hire and recruit salespeople, and he's done an excellent job at that. All right. So thank you so much for your contributions. I appreciate it very much. Let's go to the next part here. All right. Common mistake: making critical remarks about reps or employee performance in public, or correcting in public. Right. Guys, we have a tendency to notice the things that people do wrong. We do, right? But as good leaders, managers, we know that when we look for the things that people do right, it gives us opportunities to put more emotional currency into their bank account. By saying, Khalil, fantastic call, brother. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but this man sold a system today where the guy paid like $900 for the equipment. That's pretty impressive, right? Just give him a round of applause. That's awesome. All right. So I don't want to do this in any sort of false way. I mean, I really mean that. But when you give somebody a compliment like that, that's sort of like unsolicited, what do? You put a little, if you mean it, right? If you're authentic, right? You just can't go by like, hey, you look good today. No, it's got to be authentic, right? And that authenticity puts money in that bank account, which is important, right? It's really important, right?
Yes, sir.
So what we want to do as a team is we want to constantly look for the things that they do right. That's a good, powerful way to build relationships with them. Good call, great rebuttal. You have great energy today. I really like your attitude. man, specifically, I love the way you handled that particular issue in the call, right? You always look for those kind of things. Every single person, including me and anybody else, we make mistakes. I make mistakes. I made one today. And I'll probably make another one today before it's over with. but it's really important that we learn from those mistakes. And sometimes good counseling or coaching will help us do that. So what are we going to learn from this slide? That we don't ever want to make critical remarks in front of somebody. We always want to look for good. If you have to correct somebody's behavior, right, you want to do it as private a way as you possibly can. Because if you do not do that, and you embarrass them in any form or fashion, what have you just done to that emotional account that they have for you? You are
Overdraft.
double with NSF, baby. You are NSF, and they may not catch that check. Does that make sense? All right, so let's jump into this. Introduction to coaching and counseling to improve performance. For those of you who have been blessed to attend the Weaver Harrell Institute of Higher Learning, you always get a story in there of me as a golfer. And I am one of these guys that can hit the ball an incredibly long distance, but you never know where the ball's going to go. It would not be wise to line people up on both sides of where I'm going to hit the ball like they do in the pros. That's not a wise thing to do because we'd have to have EMT people standing by because I'm going to knock somebody out, right? Because I can hit it a very long way, but you never know what direction. I've hit a lateral before. Think about that. That's when you hit the ball, it goes behind you. Think about how hard that is to do. You couldn't do it if you tried. And I've done that on more than one occasion. Right? So I had the good luck of having a guy who was a professional golf teacher work for me. And we were doing a charity tournament in Las Vegas. It was Susan G. Komen's Part for the Cure. And I had bought a couple of foursomes. And even though I'm not that great a golfer, you always want to do as well as you can in those tournament environments, particularly if you're playing with people who work with you. Right? The last thing you want to do is get up there and just go, woo, I missed that, woo, I missed that. So anyway, I had the guy come out and work with me, and he had me hit every club in the bag. And finally, I'm hitting the driver, and I am knocking him over here, and I'm knocking him over there, and I'm knocking him back there. And this is a truth. What I'm going to tell you is 100% truth. He said, Brew, what I want you to do is stand back away from the ball an inch. I'm going, I don't even know how to stand back away from the ball from an inch. He said, just move your foot back an inch, and then bring your right foot back. He said, okay, now I want you to move up an inch. She said, now take your normal swing. And I took that normal swing, and I went straight down the middle, and I went, whoa, that was lucky. Take another swing, straight down the middle. And it was that 1 inch that made the difference. That little bitty tiny thing made the difference in my performance, right? He had the ability to observe so keenly that he could tell I was an inch too close to the ball, and by being an inch too close to the ball, I wasn't able to come all the way through it, and I was making like one of those adjustments that was driving the ball this way or that way because I wasn't smart. My body couldn't make those adjustments to get the club face square when I went through the ball. So we go that way, or go this way, or go back there. So what are we talking about? Coaching and counseling to enhance performance improvement. That's what we're all about. Performance coaching. It's the first step. It's the very first step to improve employee performance is counseling or coaching. How do you know if you're doing good or bad? Well, there's a couple of assumptions. A, that someone has defined what good is and essentially defined what bad is. That you have goals that you are hoping to accomplish. There's some sort of metric in place in which you can judge whether or not you're doing well or not, or that you're doing poorly, right? Let's assume all those things are in place. So now our job becomes to coach and counsel people for performance improvement. My job is to work with all of you guys with the skill sets that y'all are developing to improve your performance as coaches and managers. And we do that through a classroom environment, and we also do that through individual conversations, which many of us in the room have had those. Right? Okay. So performance improvement comes through this very important step of counseling and coaching. And we're going to really talk about that for the next 25 minutes or so. It's absolutely critical that it be done daily. This is not something that you can do once a year. This is not something that you do once every 2 years. This is not an employee review. This is not what they call a performance review, which they talk about at the end of the year. This is a daily performance, coaching and counseling with the goal of improving performance on a daily basis. Right? If you let things go, no matter what that activity is, the more you let that activity go, the harder it is to correct it. If somebody starts getting a habit on Monday and you're able to help them get out of that habit Monday afternoon, what have you just done? You've gotten there before the habit has been firmly in place, right? You wait 21 days,
That's a bad habit.
now you got a problem. You got to pull that thing out about the roots now. Right? You ever have a weed grow in your yard? You say on Monday, I'm going to get that thing. A month later, it's like up to here, and you go, I'll get it. A month later, it looks like a tree in the front yard. You got to hire a D4 caterpillar to pull that stupid weed out. If you'd have pulled it out that first Monday, you notice what would happen? It would come out. And the other 9,000 weeds that are now in your yard wouldn't be there, right? Right? So when you see a weed in your yard, what do you got to do? Because if you don't, what happens? They spread, or they grow and grow and grow and grow, and you're a grown person pulling on a weed, and you can't get the thing out of the ground. And your neighbors are watching. Right? You ever do that? All right. So it's coaching is part of the day-to-day interaction between a supervisor and an employee. Right? Day-to-day. Every single day. It never stops. It never stops, right? Now here's some assumptions we gotta kind of work on, right? You don't have the moral authority to teach somebody anything unless you can do it. Do you agree with that or not? Yes. If I try to teach you something and I don't know how to do that really, it's not going to be very effective, is it? So we go back to one of the original principles of leadership, which is what? Know your stuff, right?
Knowledgeable.
Know your stuff. You have to know your stuff. And by you knowing your stuff, people know you know your stuff. So that when you speak to them, they go, I know this guy knows his stuff. Now, if that guy had said to me, move back an inch, and I didn't know he was a golf pro, been doing it for 40 years, I'd have gone, yeah, yeah, go drink a beer, you know? But I had respect for him. You know what I did? I did what he asked me to do, and my performance improved dramatically. Right?
You were willing to listen to him, though.
I was willing to listen because I respected him. I respected him because I know that he knew what he knew, that I didn't know, and I wanted to know. So that's an assumption you gotta understand, right? These principles we talked about earlier, they're underneath everything we do, right? We talk about character. What is character? It's like integrity. Character is what happens when nobody's looking, right? That's what character is, right? It's nobody on a highway and you take the Whataburger sack and you throw it out, right? Nobody saw you, right? What kind of character do you have in terms of environment?
Yeah, right.
Not so positive, right? If there's nobody in the highway looking at it and you're sick and tired of the Whataburger thing and you go look for a place where you can put that in a dumpster or put it in a trash can or something like that, that's character, right? Nobody saw you. Nobody's going to catch you. But you said, you know what, I really don't want this Whataburger thing in the truck anymore, but I think I'm just going to pull over here, get out of the truck, which is a pain in the bottom, and put it in the trash can, right? Okay, so what's the assumption, guys? The assumption is you know your stuff. If you don't know your stuff, what do you got to do?
Learn it.
There you go. Consistent coaching produces what?
Consistent results.
Consistent results. Here's what I'll tell you about being a sales coach for 30 years. If I'm hired to come in and coach somebody who's willy-nilly, who has no set pattern, no process to their salesmanship, it is awful difficult to produce any positive results. Because their approach is willy-nilly crazy. You know, Monday you do this, Tuesday you do that, Wednesday you do this, sometimes you say this, sometimes you say that. You never do the same thing twice, right? So when we teach sales, we say, do the same thing every single time. Then we can come behind you and coach, and we can isolate that one or two things that really make a difference and work on those skills, right? If you don't do anything consistently, it's crazy. There's no way to really figure out how to do that improvement. Does that make sense? All right. So consistent coaching produces consistent results. Regular coaching brings performance issues to an employee's attention when they are minor. Pull the weed when you see it first pop its little head out of the grass, right? Because what's going to happen in a week? More weeds, right? Bigger root system, right? It's easier to weed when they're little than it is to weed when they have had the opportunity to grow and prosper, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So weeds are bad habits, right? And assist the employee to correct them. And what we want to do as a team is not look upon ourselves as the people who are going to fix this. We're the people who are going to help our employees fix it, right? They have to fix it. I can't fix it, right? I can't make any of you be successful. I can't pull you across the finish line. I can't push you across the finish line. You have to make that decision yourself. So employees, right, just like us, right, they have to want to fix the problem. But they have to know they have a problem. And they have to agree that you're correct. And they have to agree with your assessment. Now, I always teach, and we'll teach you this as we go down this road, let them come up with a solution because they know what to do, right? If you come up with a solution, you can't argue with me, right?
That's pretty good.
Right? If you come up with a solution, if Callie solves her own problems, she can't blame me or have a problem with me, right? And there's no emotional withdrawal out of our account if she fixes her own problem. And guess what? It's more powerful when you fix your own problem than when I fix it. Right? Because I can fix it for a temporary basis. Temporary. Right? I can walk out there and correct behavior until I walk back in here. Right? I can do that. But that's not what's helpful. What's helpful is if the behavior is correct whether you're there or not. That's what you're really looking for, is that character development. Does that make sense or not? All right. This is a little thing we're going to be talking about over the next 4 weeks or so. What's the goal? What is the doggone goal of this, right? The goal of performance coaching is not to make the person feel bad about what they're doing. And you don't want to go in there and say, you need to become the fine salesperson that I am. You don't want to do that either. Right? What you want to do is you want to get them interested in being better. Right? And then help them find a way to be better. Right? And by consistently doing that, we'll achieve those goals. So the goal of performance coaching is not to make the employee feel badly or to show how much the supervisor knows. And sometimes we have a tendency to do a data dump, Let me tell you all the ways that I know how to do this, right? And that really is ineffective. What you need to do is figure out a way for that person to figure out a way to fix their own problems. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the goal of coaching is to work with the employee to solve performance problems and improve the work of the employee, the team, and the department. Okay? The best organizations believe in continuing process improvement. Every day I get a little better.
I found that if somebody needs help with something, or they're just not getting it and it's not sticking, and they ask you, hey, what do I do here? Ooh, I can't remember exactly what I do here. Ask them, what do you think you should do? make them think about it. Stop giving them the answer, and sooner or later you won't have to, and it's actually quicker that way. What do you think you should do? What do you think's the right thing to do? And then we'll work on it and see if that's the right thing to do and learn from our mistakes.
It's really good.
Yeah, don't feed them fish. Teach them how to fish.
Yeah.
Right? Secret success formula. Who here has ever heard of that?
I don't know what that is.
All right. Why am I going to spend a couple of minutes on this, right? I'll tell you why I'm going to do that. Because when you're coaching, there's only 3 buckets, guys. There's only 3 buckets you ever coach out of. Their attitude, their activity, or their skill set. There's nothing else. It's attitude, activity, and skill set. Those are the 3 things that you always coach towards. That's all there is. Attitude, activity, and skill set. Attitude, as everybody knows, critical to success, right? It has to be positive. One of the keys to likability. What is the number 1 characteristic of a highly successful inbound call agent? Likability, right? So attitude has to come with everything. What's the source of most of our problems on the floor? Attitude, right? I don't want to be here and getting crappy calls. What, do I take more service calls? Right? Bad attitude, right? Bad attitude, right?
Poison.
Okay, activity. Butts in the seats, right? Butts in the seats, butts in the seats. Hey, if somebody is not in the seat, they're not optimizing their opportunity to earn, are they? Nor are they improving their performance, are they? Right, so activity is absolutely critical, right? Right? You cannot hit a ball from inside the dugout. You can't hit a ball from outside the smoking area. You can't hit a ball from inside your car. You can't hit a ball at the taco truck. You can only complete a sale when your derriere is placed firmly in your seat. That's where you make a sale, right? So, unfortunately, we have to counsel and coach people and make them understand if they want to optimize their performance, they really need to be available. Does that make sense? Okay, so activity then. The sales stars. What we teach is this is a typical bell curve, right? Typically it's not as high as that, but I had to get it on the slide, right? So the tail extends here in the front. And what it is what, Callie? Who's in the front here?
The
Top 20%. Who's in the back here?
The bottom 20%.
Bottom 20%, right? And everybody else is distributed here. You want everybody to strive to get into this area, and that's our job, is to move people through the various stages to where they're here. And then make sure these people stay there, right? So activity is really important to that. And of course, availability is all about that. And then skills, power of knowing. If you sense that somebody doesn't understand the product, you better take care to ensure that they understand they don't understand the product and get them to solve that however they can solve that. Does that make sense? Because it's critical. If you sense that somebody is not using the skill properly, right, you need to make sure they understand that using the script will give them many, many benefits, right? That going willy-nilly and making stuff up on the fly may seem like you're doing a great job, but you're not being consistent and you're missing a lot of opportunities. Product program knowledge, customer knowledge, competitive knowledge. Okay, there's only 3 areas, guys. Attitude, activity, and skill set. Okay, so we introduced the management and counseling and coaching. What a critical skill it really is. As we go down the weeks, we're going to learn more and more and more how you do that on an individual basis and how you really do a great job on a daily basis, weekly basis, and monthly basis, because there's really 3 different, and you can add annual in there as well, but there's 3 different points during a month where you touch them in different ways, right, when you're coaching and counseling. And we'll talk about that specifically. Helpful hint. Who wants to know what a helpful hint is? Here you go. Don't just tell them what they did wrong.
Tell them.
Don't just tell them what they did wrong, right? Hey, Lindsay, you threw your gum on the ground. Okay. Show her, teach them how to do it right. Lindsay, take your gum, put it in the trash. I'm not going to do that to Lindsay because she knows better, right? But You see what I'm doing here? Don't just tell them what they did wrong. Show them or teach them how to do it right, and they'll appreciate it. Okay, performance improvement coaching, counseling, review. Okay, number one, first step to performance is counseling or coaching. First step, right? Done daily. Consistency is the key. Goal is performance improvement, and there's only 3 areas you can ever coach from. If you want somebody to improve their performance, I guarantee you if they make an improvement, make a change in any one of those 3 areas, they'll have a bump in their productivity, a bump in their sales. Do you believe that?
I'm doing it, yeah.
Okay. Homework. Think about how consistent coaching and counseling can improve performance on your team, and then write a coaching and counseling plan that will enhance performance on your team. Now I'm going to kind of spoiler here a little bit. I want you to write that plan. We're going to continue to rewrite that plan over the next 4 weeks. I want you to write the plan as you understand it right this second. Okay, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, what are you going to do with this information?
Utilize it.
Well, yeah, I'm going to take it and put it into my daily, this is my daily coaching, like what I'm doing, so I'm going to put that into my repertoire of what I'm already doing and learn from it and utilize it.
We're going to get more involved with the details and more, I couldn't do it in an hour, what are you going to do with this information?
I'm going to put it to use. I'm going
All
to
right.
take it in consideration.
Can you see where it makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Where it would help performance? How about you? What are you going to do with this information?
Yeah, I think that it's a great plan. I mean, I don't have a team, but I think that all the managers really stepped up and started implementing these things, and it's only going to get better and better. It's like daily coaching. It's a helpful reminder
Yeah.
of what we need to do. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
it really does help.
Psychologically, guys, it does a lot of other things. It creates a sense of urgency in your sales organization. There's a lot of pride that gets involved in that because people are constantly looking for you to tell them what a great job they're doing. I mean, they really look for you to give them that performance acknowledgement, Hey, like,
Well, what's really
they're looking for that,
What's really nice, because I've started finally being able to have time to sit down with people and get them alone, because you don't want, it takes a little time to do it, but say with a certain sales rep, I don't throw too much on them at once, so this is where we're going to start and focus on it, but when they actually do it and they get the results, it's great to go up behind them and just, look at that, good job, there you go, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, reinforcement is a really critical part of all this. What are you going to do with this information?
It matches up really with my personal goals for my professional life. It actually matches up quite well, so utilize it, of course.
Not think about it or talk about it, just do it.
There you go.
Just make it happen.
Like Nike.
All right.
Just do it.
Thank you very much for coming, guys. Do your homework. I'll see you next Friday. Thank you.